Elise Stefanik, representative from New York. How are you?
Good. How are you, Mark?
I am doing great, and I hope you are as well. Now, I know you serve on this very, very special and important committee that is going to investigate the Biden crime family and what's been going on with this administration and so forth. But I understand already you're not getting cooperation in the House. Is that correct?
Well, it is correct, Mark, but I will tell you, House Republicans will leave no stone unturned. And let's take a step back. This will be some of the most important work of the House Republican majority in this Congress. And here's why. You talk to the American people across this country, and they fundamentally believe, rightfully so, that there are two sets of rules. One, if your last name is Clinton or Biden and you're a well-connected, high-profile Democrat, and you're part of the swamp, you can commit crimes and it's brushed under the rug. On the other hand, if you're a hardworking, patriotic American who's innocent, the federal government has been weaponized against you. We see that again and again. The purpose of this select committee is to follow the facts and find the truth, to shine sunlight, to bring transparency and ultimately accountability, and I believe legislative reforms. Agencies that I'm focused on are the Department of Justice and the FBI, and the list is quite lengthy in the abuses and weaponization that we've seen from these agencies. I, of course, was very active in the unconstitutional impeachment proceedings and was one of the leaders when it came to showing the importance of congressional oversight of these agencies who have run afoul of the fact that they report to Congress and the American people, not the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Now, this special committee you all have set up, is it going to have what is the makeup of it? How many Republicans to Democrats? Do you know?
There are 12 Republicans. There are 9 Democrats. The Democrats have yet to be appointed. The Republicans have been appointed, and it's within the Judiciary Committee, but it's a select committee, so we have subpoena power, and the Republicans intend to use it. We will follow the facts, and as I said, leave no stone unturned. And you have really heavy hitter oversight leaders, whether it's Jim Jordan, Darrell Issa, who of course was the oversight chair when we uncovered the Fast and Furious scandal, when we uncovered the IRS targeting of conservative organizations. And I wanted to be on the committee, and I'm honored to be on the committee based upon the work that I've done, whether it was uncovering from a mid-level DOJ official, Mark. It was my questions that led to the realization that the White House solicited the letter that it used to justify going after parents as domestic terrorists. That was my questioning of a mid-level DOJ official in an open hearing unrelated to the subject matter, but it's important to conduct robust oversight and then follow up with document requests and appropriate subpoenas.
It's obvious to me, at least Stefanik, it's obvious to me that if Garland could have covered up the entire front end of the Biden document issue, he would have. I mean, he covered it up as long as he could. They had 2 discoveries of documents. The first one on November 2nd. They were alerted about it November 4th. Then this December 20th at Biden's garage. And then, of course, on January 12th, which I guess caused him to appoint a special counsel, because what the hell else could he do? But I think he was trying to cover it up, not just through the election. He was going to kill the whole damn thing, I think, until more documents were bleeding through. What do you think?
Well, certainly these agencies are absolutely guilty of trying to cover up, which is why they're stonewalling, which leads to your first question you asked me. Are we seeing these agencies in the Biden administration stonewall? Yes, we are, because they are afraid when the truth comes out. But fundamentally, Mark, we have a constitutional duty as members of Congress. We have oversight over these agencies that are funded with taxpayer dollars. And when there are government abuses and the federal government is weaponized against the American people, there is nothing more important for Congress to do than assert that constitutional responsibility. And it's not just the, documents that the Biden administration is trying to cover up. Look at the cover-up that was going to happen if the Twitter files were not put out publicly. The fact that the FBI paid over $3 million and had numerous, including weekly, standing meetings with Twitter to suppress free speech, to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story, that, by definition, is a form of election meddling by not allowing facts out there. And this was, well reported, well researched by the New York Post. But now we know, because of Elon Musk and new leadership at Twitter, that there were crimes committed paid for by the U.S. taxpayers through these corrupt federal agencies. So again, sunlight is an important antidote when there's government abuse, and that's what we're going to focus on, getting to the truth, and that leads to accountability, and that leads to legislative reforms.
Are you folks concerned about how the FBI, working with the January 6th committee, actually took Scott Perry's cell phone from him and are investigating individual state legislatures and so forth? I mean, anybody might be upset with the challenges to the election and so forth, but the idea that a grand jury led by a Democrat appointed by Biden is investigating state legislatures, they really don't belong there, Representative. If somebody committed bribery, that's one thing, but this is a whole other story.
Well, the list is lengthy of the FBI's crimes and significant weaponization against the American people and against prominent Republicans. But it also, if they can do that against a sitting elected official, they can do it against any American. And certainly that is going to be part of our investigation. I mean, let's start with going back to 2016. You had the FBI director who, based on my questioning of him in an open hearing, admitted that he did not follow proper protocol, and he refused to brief Congress when he made the decision to open an investigation and spy on the Trump campaign. You had a FISA application that was illegal, conducted by the FBI and Department of Justice. You had, again, the targeting of parents, which was solicited by the White House, the justification they used to go after these parents who were concerned about their kids' education, rightfully so. You have the FBI working directly with Democrats on the January 6th committee to go against their top political opponents, i.e. Republicans. And you have, for example, the FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago on one hand.
Can I hold you over briefly?
Yes.
All right. We're talking to Elise Stefanik. You were a prosecutor at some point, madam?
I was not, Mark. I was not.
Maybe you should have been. You're pretty good. We'll be right back. We're here with Representative Elise Stefanik. Now, Elise Stefanik, you're the number 3 in leadership. Is that correct?
I'm the House Republican Conference Chair, yes. I've been in that position since I defeated Liz Cheney for that leadership post.
If that is all you did in your career, you realize that would be enough. I'm not trying to understate the things that you're doing. I'm just saying that was big, that was important, and that set her off. She really kind of declined from there out, don't you think?
Well, I think so, and I think the voters and the people of Wyoming made a good decision when they supported Harriet Hageman. Harriet is also going to be on this select committee focused on the weaponization of federal government, and she's going to be an exceptional member. She has extensive work taking on federal government overreach in Wyoming and will just be a great member of this committee. She's already a friend and a colleague, and I look forward to working with her.
One other question on this. The January 6th committee, do you know if the Republicans now have those records, if they're going to go through them and so on? I'll tell you what, I have a little bone to pick here. Somehow they got 13 of my emails. I never gave them to them. They weren't subpoenaed. I wasn't given any kind of notice. Now, those emails really had nothing to do with anything. But I want to know how a committee of Congress got 13 of my emails without permission. And I'll bet I'm not alone.
Well, you're not alone, and I will tell you there is a process right now. We're talking, I think the document number is in the millions, and that transition from the Democrat majority to the Republican majority is taking place. If you remember, then Republican leader, now Speaker Kevin McCarthy, put out a public request that all documents must be maintained and turned over. That process is certainly happening, and our staff is going to go through all of those documents with a fine-tooth comb because there are a lot of questions that need to be answered. And what's frustrating to me already, and it shows you the double standard and it underscores the importance of this select committee. Here you have these federal agencies providing any information at all even not following the proper ways of getting it, turning it over to the Democrats on the January 6th committee, and yet now you have these same federal agencies stonewalling legitimate requests for congressional oversight purposes. So I think there's going to be bombshell reports that come out about how truly the January 6th committee was a political witch hunt and was part of the weaponization of the federal government.
Well, maybe they won't like a 10 or 20% cut in their budget over there at the FBI if they keep this up and move that money to the Border Patrol or something. You may have to try and do that, even though I know you're going to have trouble even with your own Republicans in the Senate. You're from a rural part of New York, upstate New York.
Yes.
What are some of the towns in your district?
Well, I represent about a third of the state, and my district, I have over 200 towns, but some of the bigger areas are Plattsburgh, Glens Falls. I have
Woodstock?
Messina, Ogdensburg, Potsdam. I do not have Woodstock. That's more Hudson Valley. I start in the suburbs around the Capital District, and I go all the way up to the Canadian border. It's a big district, and interestingly for your listeners, it voted for Obama twice, voted for Trump twice as well. So it's a real bellwether district. I flipped the district in 2014, and at that time I was proud to be the youngest woman ever elected to Congress, and I'm now in my fifth term. And this is exciting to go into the Republican majority. It's the first time my district has had a seat at the leadership level, certainly in my lifetime, but going back a very, very long time.
And you've been attacked for this by the usual subjects, Harvard and the rest, as I recall, when you were last here, correct?
Yes, that's correct. But you know what? I wear it as a badge of honor. And it's interesting. I have been attacked. I've been attacked by the mainstream media, but usually when they viciously attack, I can tell that I'm onto something because people are very scared about the truth falling out. And I was most attacked during the unconstitutional impeachment proceedings. And my questions were fact-based, and I'm, very fact-based in how I go about my oversight responsibilities as a member of Congress, and I'm going to continue doing that. But most importantly, my constituents have overwhelmingly, I've earned their support, and they are very excited about the opportunity, and they're interested in this specific committee in addition to my other work. And I'll tell you, Mark, it's not just the national issues. There are examples of this weaponization of the federal government in every district across America. One example in my district that has a lot of regional coverage and is just starting to get national coverage is we unfortunately were the home of one of the deadliest vehicle crashes, a retrofitted limo that killed 20 people. These young upstate New Yorkers, families are still mourning. And the FBI has culpability because the owner of the limousine company was a longtime FBI informant. And it was based upon my oversight questions of Chris Wray, the director of the FBI, in an open hearing that forced the FBI to open up an investigation. Now, they have since said they're not turning that over to Congress, even though I caused them to open it. But I'm going to continue standing up for those families to get the transparency and accountability. So when we talk about oversight, it's not just the national issues, it impacts local families as well.
Boy, that's unbelievable. Let's try one here. Immigration, or the lack of legal immigration. We now hear that illegal immigrants are coming through Canada. And I guess they're coming through Canada and coming into your district, which is obviously massive in New York, no?
It's massive in New York, and I'll tell you, because of the southern border crisis, what's happened to the Border Patrol agents in my district is they've been transferred over and over again to the southern border, leaving, we don't have the resources that we need at our northern border. And it's been a long-time issue. It's the top concern of these Border Patrol families. It's something that we have been very active on in my congressional office. And when we talk about every district being a border district, it's true, not only with the fentanyl overdoses that are skyrocketing across the country, but impacting the lack of resources we need on the northern border. So we will move a border security package in this House Republican majority. We've just gotten committees populated, but that's one of our top legislative agenda items.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, I want to thank you for your time. You're welcome back, of course, and we appreciate your effort here. It's very, very crucial.
Thank you, Mark. I always love talking to you, and I look forward to your coverage of these committee hearings. It's going to be very important work this Congress.
If I show up at a few of them, is that okay, you think?
Yes, it's okay. We'd welcome. I hope all the American people tune in. It's important work.
All right. God bless. Thanks again.
Thanks, Mark.
There goes Representative Elise Stefanik. She's a pistol. She is good, don't you think, Mr. Producer? She pounds well. I thought she had been an assistant DA or something, but apparently not. How do you like that?